Raw ratings. Lowest rated Raw in the history of the show. Third hour. Almost below 2 million viewers.
Yeah. Well,
this is ridiculous.
We're going to get below 2 million on the third hour pretty soon. I'm going to guess. So I'll tell you when we probably will, because there's going to be Raws on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. So I think that those shows will be the ones that drop. At least I don't think the whole 3 hours will drop below 2 million, but they might. It wouldn't surprise me to see on either of those nights or both. But I would expect that December 20th, but you can throw those numbers out. But I would say December 24th and December 31st probably will be the two lowest episodes.
Yeah, well, let's talk about this rating that you can't throw out. This rating cannot be thrown out. The football game did like 12 million viewers. That's far from the...
Which is good. That's a good number.
But it's not like record-breaking numbers or anything like that.
No. It wasn't the football game that was the reason. The reason is because that the interest level is down, and the show itself didn't lose at a record number, but the interest level in the company as a whole is obviously very down right now. And it's funny because the SmackDown shows have been very good. The Raw shows have not, but it's like Raw drives SmackDown numbers. Like SmackDown, by all rights, SmackDown should have beaten Raw this week. There's no reason it shouldn't, except that it just doesn't happen that way.
Well, I mean, the reality is you've got three. What was the viewership? 3 point. What was it this week? No, it was 2. 2 point.
Wait, but 2 million.
2.4 million this year or this week. 2.2.
Oh no, it was less than that. It was. Hold on, I've got the number in front of me. 2,194,000.
Okay, it's 2.2 million. So you had 2.2 million viewers to watch Raw, and like if you watch that whole Raw, I mean, you're not in the mood to watch SmackDown the next night. There's clearly a 20% or whatever that if they make it through Raw, they're done for the week. So
well,
a bad Raw.
It wasn't that high a percentage this week, but no, the thing is 3 hours is too long, and they're hurting because they're two leading stars that they promoted, two leading male stars they promoted. Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman were both off the show, and everyone knew they would be off the show, which doesn't help. I think the numbers still would have been really bad even with those guys, but that hurts. And stuff's stale. You know, one of the things that they really do need a complete overhaul in their thinking, because what we're having now...
That's not going to happen.
I know it's not. But what we're happening now is we're having a no longer slow. I mean, we're having a pretty solid, strong erosion in interest, and it's across the board. And if you keep going, it's like the whole thing of if you keep doing the same thing that doesn't work, it's the definition of stupidity, essentially. You know, it's thinking things are going to change. Insanity, stupidity, it's both. But so they need one of the things I think they have this like mentality of this is how we do it. And it's like they have all this, they have a ridiculous amount of talent. I mean, this is like, they probably have more talent than WCW had when they were going downhill.
Well, if you add in the developmental talent, yes, absolutely. Main roster talent, no. But if you
but they're
everybody under contract, yes.
Yeah, but that's the whole point. The point is why are these guys, when your TV numbers are down, why are these guys sitting there in developmental, on that the hardcore fans see, but nobody else sees. And they have this idea that they've got to be there for a year and a half. It's like, why can't they come up now? When you why?
Yeah, but what the hell difference would it make?
Well,
like, look at what they've done with the people they brought up from developmental.
Well, that's a different issue. But
that's a big issue, though, because we're here talking about how much talent they've got. But what the hell difference does it make? They could have every wrestler in the world under contract. And if the 73-year-old guy in charge has like a very narrow-minded view of who can be a star, then it doesn't matter.
Well, you're right. But among the things, one of the things that I used to like about wrestling, like let's say if you watched like Atlanta wrestling in the 70s and 80s, you had your core guys, and they were there every week. Now you had 3 hours of television, you didn't have 5, but it certainly didn't feel overexposed. Number one, because the promos were shorter, which didn't drag as much. The matches on TV were much shorter.
Better.
Well, the promos were better, for sure, yeah. The matches were much shorter, so they didn't drag as much. They had a lot of squash matches, like almost all squash matches, so the guys didn't get burned out as quick. I know that they're afraid to go back to that, and I'm not even advocating that they necessarily should, but they probably should do like a mix, so to speak, in the sense that it's you have some you have maybe like a Mid-South or St. Louis style show where you have some squash matches to get people over, you protect the guys that you need to protect, and you have competitive matches, and that but not a lot of them, but focused on them, and the competitive matches are there for a reason. You know, it's like, instead of just being thrown out there and how do we get out of it, it's like they're there for a reason, a storyline reason. And I think that that's kind of like what you need to do. But the key is you don't always have the same guys on every show. You bring in people from other territories at every taping. You mix them in. They may not be on every show. They don't have to be on any show. But it was always exciting. It's like, hey, who's going to come in from another territory this Saturday? We didn't know. It's like, we know, like, it's like, who's going to come in? If these developmental guys, they don't have to be on every show. No one has to be on every show. But they have this mentality that everyone's got to be on every show and everyone's got to have an angle. So no angles mean anything because you got a million angles, and a lot of them are bad because they're burned out. And I think that that's, you know, like if you got 200 people on the roster, you know, why aren't you mixing them up more? You know, and giving people fresher things. Guys can come in for a week or two, do a quick program, then go back to developmental. It's not a step. Don't make it a step down. Just make it a step. You know, bring in some guy. You know, the whole idea that it takes all this time to get a guy over is such bullshit because they get guys under. I mean, Bobby Roode, Nakamura, all of these guys, they were more over week one, day one on the main roster than they are now. Much more, not even close. And that's like the exact opposite of what it's supposed to be. So bring in Adam Cole or Ricochet or the Undisputed Era. Have them do a quick program. You know, at least it's new. At least it's different. You know, and they don't have to stay up forever. And they probably, you know, in those cases, maybe those guys should. But it's like you got all this talent, this incredible talent, and they're sitting there in NXT, and you bring up 4 a year or whatever the number is, or 6 a year or whatever it is, and all you do is stockpile more guys, and then you've got all these Dolph Ziggler-like guys that are just so stale. Nothing against them, they just are. And I mean, that's, you know, if you didn't know who was going to be in the show, and you had guys, you know, and you didn't know who was being slotted in certain ways, you know what I mean? Like you didn't make the slotting so freaking obvious. Like, let guys have upsets and let guys just bring guys up and let them be stars. You know, if you got, I mean, I know they're going to do with Lars Sullivan because he's a big guy. Okay. So they're going to go all the way with him like they did with Braun Strowman. But, you know, you don't have to be the size of Lars Sullivan to have that kind of a push. You could do that with another guy. You don't have to 50-50 everybody.
This is all lovely, but I mean,
I know it's not. Yeah, but
you do have to be Lars Sullivan. You do have to be Braun Strowman. You do have to be Roman Reigns. Otherwise, they fight you, and they fight you, and they fight you, and they fight you, and they fight you.
I know, but I'm just saying, this is hardly like a death sentence. Like 10 years from now, when people go, oh my God, you know, WCW like creatively collapsed and attendance went down and ratings went down, and now it's like the popularity is way down, and now it's horse racing or boxing or whatever it is, you know, something that used to be really big that isn't anymore. When people catch on, which, you know, granted, the one good thing about WWE is that the fans know and we know, okay? But the real world kind of just, well, they're still ahead of the ratings of almost everything else on cable. So they're still valuable, not realizing that they were way ahead. You know, it's like now they're maybe they're 9th or 10th for the night on cable. You know, they used to be like second, you know, behind football only. You know, SmackDown, you know, I mean, it wasn't like, oh, well, they're still ahead of like all these other shows. These other shows aren't sports, and they haven't been around forever either. But you know, everyone kind of like the ratings aren't bad when you look at the big picture of everything. But there was a time when wrestling was like #1 in cable ratings. Not just a time. There were decades of that. So the idea that, well, they're still there, it's like they're falling on the night, and, you know, compared to what they used to be. But the live attendance is down. Like, it is going down, and it's at a time when there's an incredible amount of talent. It's not like we have this dearth of talent because nobody wants to be a wrestler and we're getting third-rate athletes in it and things like that, and they're not recruiting. And, you know, like the territories are dead and we're not developing people. They're developing people. They got too many people they're developing, but they don't do nothing with them. They sign guys from everywhere, you know, and then who do they make stars? Nobody, you know, or almost nobody. You know, okay, Lars Sullivan, they're going to make a star, I'm sure. But, you know, great, just what we, you know, and that's fine. But it's very frustrating in a lot of ways.